Good evening, professionals. In our corporate law webinar series, the ninth series, we've been discussing about the provisions on labor code. And we are in the fourth last leg of discussing the provisions of the code on wages. While we attempt to discuss about the new provisions enunciated in the code, we are also trying to compare it with the erstwhile provisions in the labor legislation. In the first part, we discussed about the wages, the chapter 1, the overview with regard to the code on wages. Then we discussed about the prohibition with regard to discrimination on the ground of gender, the minimum wages which is statutorily required to be paid, and also the concept of overtime wages, where we noted the fact that there is almost the same provisions which are lifted from the labor legislation in the code. The second part last week, we continued with chapter 2 and chapter 3 and discussed about the time and mode of payment of wages. We also discussed about the payment of bonus, which is as enshrined in chapter 4. And we are going to continue with the provisions as specified in chapter 4 with regard to payment of bonus, continuing with the provisions as set out in the code with regard to the set on and set off of bonus, the concept of available surplus, allocable surplus, we will try to understand with few set of illustrations. However, friends, please note that the computation of bonus, the provisions are the same as specified in the erstwhile provisions. However, for the purpose of understanding the computation part, we are going to read it together with an illustration and a case law as we do generally. My sincere thanks to Aishwarya for this presentation. These are some of the legends used in today's presentation. More particularly, GP will refer to gross profit, while in the first few slides, we are going to discuss about the available and allocable surplus. Then for authority, where you are going to have the authority in place of the appellate authority tribunal all put together, the powers are almost similar to as the powers of a judge in CPC, CRPC, which is your Civil Procedure Code and Criminal Procedure Code. First, we will see the segment relating to payment of bonus, then the two boards which are constituted under this payment of bonus, which are your Central Advisory Board and State Advisory Board. And then we are going to discuss about the payment of dues and claims by the employer and how the employer's accounts are audited in the case of corporates, or in those non-corporate situation, how this audit is mandated by the provisions under the code. Some of the definitions which will be applied in today's presentation will be agricultural income tax law, which means any law for the time being in force relating to levy of tax on agricultural income. We all are aware that this agricultural income is defined under section 2 subsection 1A of Income Tax Act, and if you are going to qualify under that particular definition segment, then you are well exempt from your entire agricultural income as set out in section 10, which deals with your exemption list. And the direct tax definition brings in three components. In income tax, because generally direct tax we associate with the income tax that any assessee pays, be it an individual or a corporate assessee. Then the Companies Profit Surtax Tax Act. This Surtax Act is nothing but for specified class of companies. What is the surtax, the surcharge tax, as may be applicable, the specified legislation stipulates, and the agricultural income tax law as specified in the definition above. And any other tax having regard to its incidence or nature as may be declared by central government by virtue of a notification. Industrial dispute. This definition we have already come across in our first part while we dealt with Industrial Relations Code. However, for the benefit of today's session, let's try to understand the definition of industrial dispute as any dispute or difference between three categories. First category will be between employer and employer, that is between two establishments or more such employers in an establishment. Second category will be between employer and worker, which is a common phenomenon. And third category will be between workers and workers, which is associated with the terms and conditions of employment. That is very important. But in the second segment of this ID, it clearly talks about any dispute or difference which arises on account of DDR, which we shortly call as the discharge, dismissal, retrenchment or termination of such worker. Let's continue with chapter 4, dealing with the payment of bonus. Friends, allocable surplus. In the case of banking segment, it is 60% of the available surplus. And in case of any other establishment, it is 67% of the available surplus. And it is clarified that audited accounts shall not be questioned. And if there is any dispute that arises with regard to the veracity of the financial statements, then the authority may ask for production of the balance sheet, not otherwise. And for computation of available surplus, the gross profits for that assessment accounting year, AY here refers to your accounting year, banking company or any other company shall be as prescribed by central government. Sums referred in section 34 deals with the deductions which have to be reckoned for the purpose of computation of your allocable surplus. What are they? Your depreciation as set out in your Income Tax Act or under your agricultural income tax law for the time being in force, and direct tax which the employer is liable to pay for the accounting year in respect of his income, profits and gains subject to section 35. We are going to see what is section 35 in the next point, which is the sum equal to the difference between the direct tax according to section 35 with regard to amount equal to the gross profit, which means the tax which is linked to your profit, and the aggregate of 1 and 2. The 2 is nothing but the direct tax according to section 35 with regard to the amount which is associated with your gross profit after deducting the amount of bonus paid or payable. So this particular component, from that you have to subtract this amount of bonus which shall be paid or payable. We are going to understand this with an illustration. Here, the first company is any other company. The second is ABC Bank Limited for the purpose of our understanding. Gross profit is 20 lakhs in this case. Bonus paid for the assessment year 1920 is 1,10,000. The gross profit for the next accounting year is 25 lakhs and the sum which refers to the various set of deductions, which is your direct tax, depreciation as specified as prior charges in section 34, which have to be deducted for the purpose of computation is 3,50,000. Direct tax according to section 35, which is the last leg in this particular slide, that is direct tax according to section 35 and direct tax according to 35 after deducting the amount of bonus paid or payable. So the first component is 5 lakhs and the second component direct tax on gross profit minus the bonus paid, that is A minus B, 20 lakhs minus 1,10,000, which is 18,90,000, of which 25 percentage, which is your direct tax, assuming the turnover to be less than 400 crores. So where the corporate tax is 25 percentage and the amount is 4,72,500. So the net amount, which is the available surplus in this illustration, will be 1 minus 2 plus the aggregate of 3, because here it clearly says the deduction gross profit minus sum referred in section 34 plus sum equal to the difference between italic 1 and 2 as mentioned here. So which amounts to 21,77,500, which is the available surplus here. That is nothing but your 1 minus 2 here plus this particular 3, where it leads to 21,77,500, which is the available surplus. And in the case of banking company, we observe that the section clearly says that it is 60% of available surplus which equals to your allocable surplus, that is 13,06,500. And in case of any other establishment, it is 67% of 21,77,500, which is 14,58,925. Allocable surplus is a subset of your available surplus, and allocable surplus, yes, is less than your available surplus. This case law deals with various aspects to it, but we are going to consider the provisions related to payment of bonus in that particular case law for this particular session. Commissioner of Income Tax versus Lakshmi Mission Works Limited. Here the appellant is the Revenue Authority, which is your CIT, and the respondent, the assessee, is LMWL. LMWL is engaged in manufacturing machineries, and it follows the mercantile system of accounting. Unlike any other establishment which is eligible and which comes within the applicability norms, they are statutorily required to pay bonus to their employees. Assessee made a provision in their accounts for bonus at a figure which was lower than the one actually paid to the workmen subsequent to the end of the accounting year. And while assessing this particular accounting year, the ITO considered only the amount which was actually paid. But the assessee claimed for allowing the amount paid for the respective previous years even after the end of the accounting year. The question thus involved in this particular case was whether the bonus which was actually paid after the accounting year, which was more than the provision made, could be allowed as an expenditure, considering the fact that the assessee adopted mercantile system of accounting. Appeal was made to the commissioner. The commissioner expressed the contention that the claim made was quite common because the company maintained its accounts on due basis and it was entitled to claim bonus paid as deduction for any year with reference to the accrual, although the payment was made in the subsequent year. So the disallowance made by the IT officer was thus considered to be unwarranted. The liability associated with payment of bonus is a statutory liability which emerges out of your Payment of Bonus Act 1965. Agreed by this order, the revenue, the CIT made an appeal to tribunal. The assessee followed the mercantile system and entitled to provide the bonus and get the same allowed as deduction. And the figures of additional bonus which was thus paid could be made available in all the years concerned well before the assessment because of the practice which was adopted by this particular LMWL. And thus, for this reason, the assessee substituted the actual payment vis-a-vis the provision made, and hence the tribunal did not find anything to be wrong in substituting the bonus amount and ordered in favor of the respondent, that is LMWL. Agreed by this order again, the CIT, the revenue, made an appeal to Madras High Court. And the Learned Counsel of Revenue again placed reliance on the contention laid in the decision CIT versus Swadeshi Cotton Mills, where in respect of an assessee who claims deduction for an amount incurred to the extent the same is in excess of the provisions made in the accounts, it was clearly laid out in this particular case that it could be allowed only in the year in which the payment was actually made. And thus, the revenue authorities placed reliance on this particular decision and contended that this assessee, however, adopted the mercantile system of accounting and hence only when the payment was effected, this particular amount could be allowed and not otherwise. Though the case related to profit bonus, this particular case, if you notice, it came prior to this particular statutory act was in force. That is 1964. 1965, when the act was enacted, all the category of establishments to which this particular statute was made applicable, for them, payment of bonus, no doubt, is a statutory liability. And hence, though the assessee followed the mercantile system of accounting, it provided for the necessary payment of bonus as a statutory liability, and thus only the quantification was postponed to the next succeeding year. And the order of Madras High Court in this particular case during their 1998 was The learned counsel contended that it was not the statutory liability of the assessee, as the assessee had entered into a settlement. Whether there exists settlement or not, this assessee was bound statutorily to make the payment by virtue of this particular act, and revenues case that the assessee has paid in excess than what was provided in the act could not be held to be a viable justification, because the settlement thus becomes a statutory liability. Settlement was entered into between the workman and the employer, which becomes the law in force for that particular assessee. And thus the High Court ordered in favor of the assessee and rejected the contention and plea of this particular revenue authority, as the amount paid towards this particular discharge of statutory liability, in the instant case being the payment of bonus, was relatable to the relevant years of accounts, and the assessee, though he followed the mercantile system of accounting, was entitled to claim the same as an item of expenditure in the year in which year of account, and not necessary to wait till the year of payment, was the judgment laid out by Madras High Court. We'll move on. Friends, we have completed section 33, 34, 35, wherein we discussed about the provisions of computation of gross profit. From the gross profit, what are the prior charges which you have to deduct? And then we also understood the connotation of available surplus and allocable surplus, and the maximum percentile which has to be provided for as allocable surplus in the case of banking sector or any other establishment. Now comes the computation of direct tax payable by the employer. Here, certain aspects shall not be considered. That is, your loss incurred in the previous year, uncarried forward losses, or any arrears of depreciation. And in the case of employer who is a regional, religious, or charitable institution, then it will be treated as if it were a company in which public were substantially interested, only for those religious or charitable institutions to which provisions of section 41 do not apply. Friends, section 41 deals with non-applicability of the provisions of this particular code. If they come within the ambit of the applicability part, then they will be treated on par with those companies in which public are substantially interested. And in the case of employer who is an individual or HUF, then the tax which is payable shall be calculated on the basis of income derived from this particular establishment, which will be considered as his monthly income. And in the case of profit which is derived from export of any goods or merchandise outside India, then no account shall be taken for any rebate which is allowed in respect of such goods or merchandise out of India in the law which is in force outside India. And no account shall be taken of any rebate other than development rebate or investment allowance or such other rebates as specifically provided in the section. Next comes section 36, very important section, friends. Again, set on and set off of allocable surplus. Again, we are going to read this in the light of illustration 2 and 3 in the next few slides, where the allocable surplus is more than the maximum bonus in any accounting year, then the excess subject to a limit of 20% of the wages, so the maximum ceiling is 20%, shall be carried forward for set on in the succeeding accounting years. And the maximum amount is subject to a ceiling of 20%. Like that, the set on is allowed to be carried for a period of 4 accounting years to be utilized for the purpose of payment of bonus. In this illustration, if you see, the allocable surplus is 25 lakhs, wages paid to employees is 50 lakhs, the minimum bonus is 8 by 3%, which is 4 lakh 16,500. The maximum bonus attributes to 10 lakhs, that is 20% of your 50 lakhs, and the bonus to be paid for the accounting year 1920 is 10 lakhs, the maximum bonus. The balance which could be carried forward for set on is 15 lakhs. The maximum that can be used in a succeeding accounting year for set on is 10 lakhs, which is your 20% of the wages subject to a cap, which is as prescribed under section 36 subsection 1. as the allocable surplus in the accounting year 1920 is more than the maximum bonus. That is, your 25 lakhs is more than this 10 lakhs amount. The same is utilized for set on in the succeeding accounting years. And accounting in 1920, set on has to be utilized before the allocable surplus of accounting year 2021 is being utilized. That is in the right hand side of this column, accounting year 2021 illustration, where the allocable surplus is 1 lakh, wages 50 lakhs, minimum bonus comes to 4,16,500, the same as in the left column. The maximum bonus is 10 lakhs. Bonus to be paid for the accounting year 2021 is 4,16,500. Set on previous year allocable surplus 4,16,500. So the balance to be carried forward for set on from the accounting year 1920 is 10,83,500. That is 15 lakhs minus your 4,16,500. The balance to be carried forward for set on from this particular accounting year 2021 is your 1 lakh, the allocable surplus, which is the 1 lakh as specified in the first row of this right column. Next provision is with regard to the minimum bonus, where the allocable surplus is less and you fall short of the amount, and whether the carry forward or set off is permissible, it is again permissible in the same set of rule of 4 years is thus provided with regard to payment of bonus. So allocable surplus is less than the minimum bonus, or the previous year set on amount is not sufficient for you to make the payment of the minimum bonus, then such minimum amount or the deficiency will arise when there is going to be a shortfall, or minimum amount you are not having even a penny to make the payment. So it could be either case, then it shall be carried forward for being set off in the succeeding accounting years in such manner as may be prescribed by central government. And it clearly lays down the principle that whether it is set on or set off, from the earliest accounting years only you have to utilize, as we saw in illustration 2. In this illustration, if you notice, the allocable surplus is 1 lakh, wages 50 lakhs, minimum maximum bonus the same set of amount as we discussed earlier. Bonus to be paid is 4,16,500. But you have this particular 1 lakh, and hence the balance to be carried forward for set off is 4,16,500 minus 1 lakh, 3,16,500. In the next example, allocable surplus is 11 lakhs. The wages paid to employees is 50 lakhs. Minimum the same amount, maximum is as specified earlier. Bonus to be paid for the accounting year 1920, balance due is 3,16,500, because last year amount you have to first make the settlement and then move on to the next accounting year liability. For that particular accounting year 2021, the liability arises to 10 lakhs. And the set off of previous accounting year bonus, which is due first, which is 3,16,500. The accounting year 2021 bonus, 7,83,500. So the balance carried forward for set off will be the difference amount of 11 lakh minus the 7,83,500, 2,16,500 shall be set off from the succeeding years. Adjustment of customary bonus. Friends, in between, if your employee is going to ask for Diwali bonus or any festival allowance, the employer has every right to deduct the same from the statutory bonus which he ought to pay. So he is entitled to deduct all these customary bonuses. And deduction from the bonus payable where there is going to be any financial loss which is incurred due to the misconduct of this particular employee. There is a pecuniary loss, so proportionate amount. Say for example, there is a table or chair which is broken, or the laptop is damaged, and to the extent of that particular financial damage which is caused to the employer, that amount could be deducted from the bonus which is payable. Time limit is the same as was laid out in the Payment of Bonus Act, which is 8 months from the close of the accounting year. Friends, it is interesting to note that in case of any dispute, such bonus shall be paid within 1 month from the date on which the award or settlement is given. The only difference between the previous legislation and this particular code is, previously it was provided that After the dispute is settled, you make the payment. Now, that particular leeway is not available. All that they are saying is if the dispute is relating to higher rate of bonus, then the minimum has to be paid within 8 months, and the exceeding amount, whatever is going to be the matter of dispute, that you pay after the settlement happens. Previously, this was not the case. You had to wait until the settlement happened, but only in the case of higher rate of bonus, I'm saying. Where, for example, if the amount is minimum bonus is 1 lakh, but the employee is demanding 1,50,000. To the extent of minimum bonus, statutory liability, it has to be paid within 8 months from the close of accounting year. For the differential sum, 50,000, when the matter is getting settled, if it is in favor of the workman, then you pay the 50,000 within 1 month after this particular award and settlement happens. Applicability, similar provision as it was before, so there is no change. With regard to section 41 dealing with non-applicability, the provisions are the same as set out in the previous legislation. The only difference being previously you had UTI, SIDBI, IFCI, Industrial Financial Corporation of India, all those specific exemptions were laid out. Now they are not finding a place in this non-applicability provision in section 41. Over and above this, there is this particular insertion in this particular code stating that for any such establishment, the central government may by virtue of a notification specify the non-applicability of this particular code by virtue of again a notification. A quick comparison of the code and the act. Friends, as mentioned earlier, the computation of bonus is the same as set out in the earlier act. However, the computation of gross profit, if you notice, the act clearly said in case of banking company, first schedule, in case of any other establishment, second schedule. So it was well categorized in the act by virtue of a schedule. But if you see in the code, it provides the power to the central government. Disqualification for receipt of bonus. Last week we did discuss that in case of fraud, in case of any other misappropriation, or in case of such disqualifications, this particular employee will be not entitled for receipt of bonus. Additional category is stipulated in the code where it also includes conviction for sexual harassment. Eligibility for bonus limited to employees drawing wages not exceeding a ceiling of 21,000 per month. This has to be fixed by appropriate government in relation to such establishments. Non-applicability of general set of principle prescribed in the act itself. Now the power is accorded to central government. Friends, when the power is given to central government, especially with regard to fixation of wages, if the appropriate government, say state government, is going to fix different ceilings, then it will certainly have a compliance burden for the establishment, because they have to monitor for each state the payment of bonus applicability, since it will vary from state to state as provided by appropriate government. So we have to wait and watch as to what the appropriate government is going to fix. It's going to be centralized or state-wise demarcation is going to happen. We'll move on to chapter 5, advisory board. Here there are two boards, CAB, SAB, central and state. The composition almost the same in both the boards, where it will have equal representation of employer-employee and independent persons not exceeding 1/3 of the total members of the board, who shall act as chairman, and 5 representatives of state government in case of central advisory board. And 1/3 of the members of the board shall be women. And they shall certainly advise on various matters, which will also include providing employment opportunities for women, fixation of wages, revision of wages, and extent of women employment, and any other matter as may be prescribed. And central government or state government may issue directions as it may deem fit on receipt of advice from the CAB or SAB, and they shall regulate their own procedure with regard to formation of committee subcommittees. If you notice, the SAB may constitute one or more committees or subcommittees over and above the board as per the power given to central advisory board by central government. Chapter 6 deals with payment of dues, claims, and audit. Every employer shall pay such amount as per the code to the employees employed by him, and the company or the firm or the person who is a proprietor shall be responsible for making such payment. What if the person deceased? Then the nominee will be entitled, and if the whereabouts are not known, then this particular amount shall be deposited with the prescribed authority, and the liability after depositing shall cease to exist for the employer, which means this is the authority's responsibility to disperse the amount. And any dispute with regard to this payment of bonus between the employer and employee will be construed as an industrial dispute within the meaning of IDA. Authority to hear and determine the claims. Here the authority shall be appointed by appropriate government, not below the rank of a gazetted officer. The applicants could be your employee, trade union, in which the employer is a member, and inspector cum facilitator. In the previous act, you had inspector, now it is inspector cum facilitator in the court. And a single application could be filed on behalf of any number of employees. And time limit for making application is 3 months from the date on which the claim arises. And within 3 months, the matter shall be settled, whatever is pending for claim. And decision of authority is he may order to pay compensation, which may extend up to a ceiling of 10 times of the claim amount. And the authority has several powers, which also includes issuing a certificate of recovery as arrears of land revenue and remit the same to the authority with regard to payment to be dispersed to all these employees. Appellate authority shall be appointed from the order of appropriate government who is holding at least one rank higher than the authority appointed under 45. So 45 deals with your authority and 46 deals with your appellate authority. And any person who is agreed by the order of the authority could make an appeal, and within 90 days of the order, beyond which sufficient cause shall be given for making an appeal. Why there is a reason for delay in making an appeal. And within again 3 months, this particular appeal matter shall be disposed of. And powers, we already discussed that they shall assume the powers of a civil court under CPC, and with regard to offences affecting the administration of justice, they shall assume the powers of CRPC. Presumption about financial statements, the provisions are the same as set out in the previous legislation. Unless and until the authority has any suspicion with regard to the accuracy of statements, the financial statements as audited by an auditor duly qualified under 141 shall be considered to be valid and binding with regard to considering the liability for payment of bonus. However, if he is not satisfied about the accuracy, he may certainly make such steps as necessary to find out the accuracy of the financial statements. With regard to those non-corporates where the audit is not compulsory, however, if the audit is done by a person who is duly qualified to act as an auditor under section 141 of Companies Act, then so far as may be applicable to those corporates, the same provisions shall mutatis mutandis apply to these non-corporations as well. However, when they are not mandated to make an audit, if they fail to get the accounts audited, then the authority could himself get the accounts audited, and the expenditure incurred with regard to such audit could be reimbursed should be actually reimbursed, because he is doing it on behalf of the establishment. The statutory records to be maintained by the employer shall be the details of the persons who are employed, the attendance register, the wages, and all these stars indicate that these are not applicable in case of those establishments where the persons who are employed does not exceed 5 with regard to agriculture or domestic purpose. Domestic purpose again means those who are deployed exclusively for the purpose of your home or family affairs of the employer, and does not include any affair relating to any establishment, industry or occupation. So all these mandatory registers have to be maintained, and whatever information has to be conspicuously displayed with regard to the payment of bonus, all those statutory displays have to be maintained. and they shall also issue wage slip to the employees. Friends, with this we are concluding chapter 4, 5 and 6 today. We will continue with the code on wages provision in our next Wednesday webinar session. Until then, take care, stay safe.